evening, good evening, good evening. Which three guys are hot like an old-fashioned wood stove, but also cold like the touch of a proctologist? It's us, the Thursday night, American Scouts of Thursday night podcast. Or ASTV if you're one of the cool kids. Joined by Brian, as always. How are you, Brian?
Doing great.
And special guest star, Cozzy. How are you, Cozzy?
I don't know how special this is if I keep fucking coming on every week. Like, how special is it? You know what I mean?
Like a regular.
It's always special when us baldies get together.
It is. It really is. At least we're the sober ones here. So that's the main thing.
And Cozzy looks like he has a freshly shaven head as well.
I do.
Yeah,
so, I choose.
We can tell. We can sense it.
Has to.
Aye. Yeah, John Joe Shelby's here.
Mine is hippie length now. We got to do mine this weekend.
A little bit of John Joe's. Yeah.
But here is our show tonight. We're going to talk about Pep Guardiola's contract extension and how it affects things in the league. We'll have Macka's Who Wants to Be a Wheel of Jeopardy Question of Bullseye Feud quiz that I was reminded about by Cossie today. So we put one together. So we're going to have a bit of fun with that. And then we'll talk about the game this weekend as we resume normal soccer, the proper stuff, the good game, not the nonsense of international football, especially when your team gets hammered 5-0 by England. I don't know which team that was. I'm Northern Irish. But let's talk about this lad here. Look at his smug little face. Look at the face on that face. You'd want to slap
another baldy
with a fish. Another baldy. He is a good-looking baldy, to be fair. But City having a bit of a down season so far, not their usual strengths, and pre-season at least speculation that it might be Pep's last year, and then he goes and takes the international break to sign another contract. Now, here's my question: does this galvanize Manchester City in the upcoming games, or is it going to be a case of like when Ferguson said he was going to leave and then decided he wasn't going to? I think they got a boost from that. They may have won the league that year, but I'm not sure about that. Arsenal might have taken it anyway, or Chelsea.
I think Arsenal 102. I think it was 02.
Yeah. So there is precedent for it not actually having the boost you would think, and especially if you're players who are, like players under Klopp. People like Klopp and Guardiola are very, I would imagine, pernickety about things. And we know Guardiola definitely is, from the rearranging of the cell phones on the desks of the press conferences. But it can get grating. As much as the success is there, it can get grating to be having to be perfect all of the time. And sometimes, as I suspect is what's happening with us, Slot is not as much of a perfectionist as Klopp was in everything. And so the players they're off the leash. They're getting to be creative. So my question, we start, Brian, then Cozzy, is how do you think this will affect Manchester City's players? And what does it say for the league? Is this, another extension of domination, or is it just putting off the inevitable?
I mean, without Rodri, they're missing a major key right there in their squad. So I don't think this is really going to go there to affect their form as much. I mean, I still think that until we're like 2019, 2020 levels above City, I'm not putting City out of the window of anything right now. But in my opinion, right there, I think that that is there any small print in this contract right there in case that this all these charges get dropped, or actually come up for them? I don't know, but what is it going to hurt Pep? I mean, just to do a 1-year extension, wait for the right job, wait for the right international job, or go the Klopp route where he's going to go and take over like a major brand or something like that. But it doesn't do anything really for Pep as far as I'm concerned. It just kind of maintains, and if they're in a downward spiral with aging players, is that the type of maintenance that you want to keep up?
I made a cynical point during the week. I think it was Tuesday EPL panel show that it was on the Discord channel, which everybody should be a part of. Am I cynical in thinking that maybe he knows the charges are getting dropped, or at least the majority of them, and that's why he's happy to stay for at least one more year?
It's a very good question. I don't think he has any idea.
That's not part of the quiz, by the way, just so everybody knows.
I don't think he has any idea about the charges. I think there's a few things at play here. Number one, I think he wants to do 10 years. which this extension does allow him to do 10 years at City. Number 2, I think that this squad is older than you think. So, for example, I've just checked then, just to confirm in my head, Kyle Walker's 34, and he's looking his age. So there's an argument here, the right back. Akanji and Ake are 29. Grealish is 29, you know. Like, Kovacic is 30. Kevin De Bruyne is 33. Gundogan's 34. Bernardo Silva's 30. You're on the side here, boys, where this team has been ran into the ground for 5 years. But like the Klopp, it happens to Klopp. It happens. Like, your team just gets ran into the ground because the way you play, successful, and that's how it should be. Well, if you run them into the ground, you've got to win trophies, and that's what this man's done. So there might be a part of this when you go, there was a favour. Come on for another year, and when we're trying to do a selling point here, we go, he's here for 18 months. Say in January, for example. Say if they go and try and do a Zubimendi in January to go and replace Rodri for this season. They go, but he's here for 18 months, to sign a 4-year deal. And, you know, there's another part of this which no one's, I don't think, has spoken about. The extra year, I think, takes them to the end of the World Cup, where Tuchel might be available. Pochettino could be available. Like, what's his name? The German manager. I'm a big fan of his, Nagelsmann. That might be available. So that actually opens up as well a little bit. Where, of course, the Broj. But there's also a part of this where we're not thinking the Spain job could be open. I know Spain just won the Euro, so if they go out early doors in the World Cup and Pep Guardiola's available, Spain could become trigger happy. And if people don't remember this, remember what happened to Lopetegui? He took the Real Madrid job at the start of the tournament and he just sacked them and just got someone else in like 2 days before the tournament started. Like, they didn't care. So I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm just saying I think there's a part of your City to go, we need a rebuild here, fella. We're not going to go down. Let's get this right. They're not getting relegated. Whatever happens, they're not getting relegated. And I also just think in his back of his head, and what if he finished third this year and I'm going? And I think he'd like to go on a high. You know what I mean? I do think he is that as well. So I think you look at that team, though, mate, there's probably fucking 6 players that you need. Like, you need probably 6 good young lads. And the other part of this, which no one's really talking about, the replacements that they brought in is not as good as the players that they left. I would argue that Savinho, as much as I like him, is not as good as Riyad Mahrez. Not for, you know what I mean? Not for me, like. And there's definitely a couple of things around those attacking places. I'd argue right now he'll probably sit there lying in bed going, I should have kept Alvarez. I reckon he thinks that. I reckon he goes, fucking hell, I could do with a Jesus right now because you can play across 3 positions for me and really helps me out. So there's actually a part of this as well where you look and go, the signings haven't really worked. Mateus Nunes hasn't really worked. And I'm a big fan of his, by the way, before he went there. He has played well last couple of games, I will say. I think he's scored a couple of goals and he's getting into it. But he's barely got on the bench and stuff. So I just think there's a bigger rebuild than you think. I think it's clever to do the year deal if you've got Guardiola for 18 months to go, okay, we'll get some signings in, we'll go again, and I'll get the new guy. You know, you signed out the new guy now, but this is the last contract, no more. Don't ask, and go and get the new guy for 18 months.
Brian, here's a question I want to ask as well. Here's another sort of cynical thought, but a good one for Liverpool fans. You know, you always want to go out on a high. I think, you know, had we won the league with Klopp, even if he hadn't announced anything, he probably would have just taken that, like Shanks on the 74 FA Cup final. Just go, right, oh, that's it. That's a good way to go out on. Do you think maybe Guardiola is looking at us and how well we're doing under Slot and going, I think we might struggle to win the league this year, but next year we might be able to get reinforcements and it can go out on the best high ever?
That is, if they don't have transfer bans off of all these charges right there. I mean, you give that to them. But I think really, I mean, they have some players in there. I mean, I thought like Bob. I think Bob's a pretty class player. I mean, I think that
the injury.
Yeah. I mean, so I mean, and there's, I mean, they have little bits and pieces of players. I mean, that you know that Rico's is a pretty class little player too. I mean, so I mean, I think that with them it's all these other, like you were talking about Kazi, all these other aging pieces right there that you have to somehow bring back, and you can't get those from your U21s. You're gonna have to figure out some way to get them to bring those transfers in. Is that too many transfers at one time to go there bring without causing problems with your squad? I mean, because we've seen that before when we brought in like multiple players, and you know, back I think that the year that go back to when Houllier came there and had brought in all the 6 players all at one time, and we came there, wanted to finish in 8th in the league, I think, that year, something like that, where all the players he brought in, because that was like Afronax and all those other guys that he brought in, and it was turned into a disaster. I think that was the year we finished 8th, but it was but there were problems with that. I mean, with blooding that many players at one time. I mean, it's and you can see right there that you can have Holland all you want, but but there's nobody there to give Holland the ball, and then Holland just gets isolated and there's nothing there. I mean, for him, I mean, fantastic forward, but I mean, he doesn't do anything but score goals. He doesn't do all the other work around it. I mean, so without having the players around him to provide that to him, he's just an ordinary isolated striker. I mean, but with Pep right there, I mean, it's like I think it was a good deal for him right there just to go there, sit and wait out. And but this squad, I don't think it's too much. I think it's too much to work with. I mean, I can see him wanting to finish at a high, like kind of like Klopp did, like that the one time that when he signed his contract extension, that he didn't want to leave it in like that certain spot that he felt that he could bring it further. I think this might be like a step too far, even for a Pep to go in there to get this squad back up to number like 1 or 2 in the league.
So it's a party you don't mark, right? I want to go up Bry's point there because it's interesting. I talk about the replacements and Haaland being isolated, and I agree with that. But you forget how many goals Sterling and Mahrez got them.
Yeah.
They used to get them 15 a year, you know. It's a fucking lot from the wingers. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think Doku's that type of player. I don't think Savinho, I think Savinho might have it in him, but right now he hasn't. I agree with Oscar Bob, by the way. I think he was relying a lot on Oscar Bob this year, and his injuries killed him.
Yeah.
Players that we've just named, no, Brian, they don't start 50 games for them. We're talking about Kyle Walker, he starts 50 games. De Bruyne would if he's fit. You know, Gundogan, you'd expect to get 30 to 35 still. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about the players who are not on the periphery of the squad. No, we're talking about fucking first teamers that they need to go replace. They need to find a replacement for Rico Lewis. I have no idea what position he plays. I like him.
That's true. I like him, but I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Is he a right back? Is he a centre mid? Is he? I have no idea. Fuck knows. Their second highest goal scorer this year, Mac, is Guardiola. He's a left back. He's a left-footed. He's actually a centre half playing left back because they haven't got a left back, right? So he's playing left back. They haven't got one, and he's their second highest goal scorer. Are we having a serious conversation here? Like, what are we doing? Like, that's not sustainable. Far from it. There's been a couple of rumblings in the last couple of press conferences. I think it was the one Spurs away in the Carling Cup when he said, I remember these lads who are here now with me. And the rumour is on City sites that was the dig at De Bruyne. Like, De Bruyne is meant to be fit and did not want to rush himself back. And he's made those type of comments before. So I think he's at the stage where managers get to it. They just kind of hate the squad. And just hate these lads now. Like, I'm fed up of looking at you. I've looked at you for 7 years. I can't be arsed with you. And I actually think he's... Because I have a big thing for Alex Ferguson when I go back and how he changed the squad so consistently all the time every 5 years. I just think he got to the stage where he was like, I can't be looking at this way anymore. He's doing me head in, and I want to get Wayne Rooney in. Do you know what I mean? I just think he gets to that stage. And going back to the Klopp thing about Klopp leaving on a high, and I think it is a point. Because I will stand by it in the 2021-22 season. If Liverpool do the quadruple, I think he leaves. I've always said that in my head. I think Klopp, because I think he's always doing that type anyway. He's always talked about a retirement plan. I remember Klopp's comments about Roy Hodgson in a pre-match once, and he went, I'll never be fucking managing at this age. Like, he's mad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. I'm going on the beach. And I actually think if he wins those 2 games of football, if Villa win, Liverpool beat Madrid, I think he goes anyway. So I do think there is that in the mind. I don't think it's writing the season off just yet, Mac, like you're saying. But I think he kind of looks and goes, if Liverpool win their next 2, with them being City, of course, the second, I think he might look and go, this is a step too far. They're in 1920 stage. I've been Scardy and we can win the Champions League. And I think, and by the way, he'd be smart to do that, I think. I think he can't just be smart to do that. I think he might wait maybe 2 more weeks to go. If they go and beat Newcastle away and Everton away, it's fucking over. Like, and I think that could be in his mind as well. And then he can just concentrate on the Champions League.
Let me ask you both this question. The accusation for almost the entire time of Pep Guardiola being at City was that he is one of the best coaches that has ever coached soccer. A game-changing coach, literally. But success-wise, he's a checkbook manager, was the accusation, and he's not a man who brings through youth through the academies, etc. Is it possible that the fact that he would have to spend money to build a whole new team is part of the idea that he is probably looking to get out now, and probably at the end of that 1 year extension, because there isn't anything coming through? We can be very grateful to Jurgen Klopp that the academy was so valued, and he would play the academy players and give them a chance to make their mistakes. That we can look at Kwanzaa as a future Van Dijk if he gets more experience and gets a bit more savvy about the game. We can look at Ben Doak, we can look at Connor Bradley, we can look at Harvey Elliott, and we can look at Curtis Jones and actually see the genesis of the next good to great Liverpool team. I don't think City have that. So do you think maybe that actually confirms that Pep Guardiola never really cared about bringing players through? He would much rather have the ready-made item.
It's a fair comment. What I would say is, don't feel all right. They have a few kids there which are talented. Like, I think Oscar Bob's been bang unlucky. I really do. I'd have questions around Phil Foden right now of why you're not starting every single game. You've got to look at yourself, because they're on their balls of their arse. They cannot score goals. I don't think they've only scored like 3 in the last 5 games. It's a joke. They've lost 4 on the bounce, and Foden can't start. We like Rico Lewis, but again, we don't know what his position is. He's starting this Simpson Tuesday, the centre half, the young kid. Needs must, Mac. I will argue that. Needs must, but there's a reason why Bobby Clark got games and James McConnell, because it was fucking needs must. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, because you're good enough. James McAtee looks like a bit of a player for them as well, if you can actually get him in. Going back to the check-up manager thing, fella, so difficult. But to be at these kind of clubs, I say this all the time at Liverpool and City and United, to come through as an academy player, mate, you have to be seriously special to establish yourself. Let's get this right, mate. The Liverpool squad, there's only 30 players in the world who can improve Liverpool. Not everyone else is crap. Forget it. Like, genuinely, if you look around the Premier League and you get told this is the best league in the world, you wouldn't take a player out of every squad to go and join this Liverpool squad. There's apart from City and Arsenal, the rest is about fucking 6 that you take to get on the bench. Never even start. Cole Palmer being one. But that's the level you've got to get to establish yourself as a first teamer at these clubs. And that's why I've got my questions around Foden still. Foden right now should be starting every single week, should be the captain. Like, you shouldn't. You're 24 years of age, you should be the fucking skipper. Right? But going back to a fella, right? Do I think no, I don't. I think he understands the rebuilding process he has. I think he just really wants a summer of knowing what he's doing. I.e. with these charges, I think he'd love the answer to these charges and go, just let me know how much I've got and what I can do here. Because I actually think that he might be hard. He might be really good just going to Kyle Walker, you're done this season. You're playing Rico Lewis right back and go, you're right back for the fucking end of the season. We're going to find out what you are. And then go to get a left back in the window. And then you go to Ruben Diaz, who's quite young, or John Stones. You're my 2 starting centre halves, get a left back. And that's my back 4 going forward. I think there could be something like that. But there's a part as well with his goalkeeper as well, with Ederson, man. Because he's been linked with Saudi, hasn't he? Like, he's another one. He's kind of been flirting with the Saudis a little bit. Like, De Bruyne did it in the summer. De Bruyne was like, come and get me kind of thing. So I think the rebuild is on, Mark. I really do think it's a big rebuild. But does he have enough in him just to get the squad over the line? Probably. Don't be surprised if he win a major tournament like the Champions League. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
That surprised me. Brian, what do you think?
I think
just because I will never give City enough European credit, because they don't have the pedigree, really.
I think we had the same criticism about Klopp about being a rebuilding manager that you're talking about with Pep. It's something that they both have never been really particularly known to do. I mean, you think about that Pep came there through Bayern. He came there, skipped from Barca to Bayern back over to City. I mean, he never rebuilt the squad. He came there, just got what they had in there and moved them on. I mean, same thing kind of like with like Klopp. Klopp saw the end of the product and moved on from the end of the product and moved on with Mainz, went to Dortmund and basically over to us. He did the same exact things right there, where he saw that the end result right there of the product and said, okay, this is as far as I can take it and move on. So some managers aren't meant to go further than that. I think this is going to be a big challenge for Pep to go there and do this. I mean, to see how he can persevere with the City squad. I mean, almost in a way right there, is it smarter to go there to move a player like Holland off of your squad to go there to fund you to make a more even team right there to compete? I mean, there's some moves I've seen that they made. I think the Doku move is terrible. I think I don't rate him really for their squad, and to actually go moving Palmer to Chelsea. Now it seems like it's a bad mistake with what they made. I know the player had to go there, had to find a way to go there to get his own legs, but you could have came there, done that same process right there by putting him out on loan for a year, let him go there, get his legs, and move him in. And then, I mean, he would probably make that City squad a lot more dynamic than what they are at the moment. I mean,
it really is a good point, that this is his first big rebuild in his life. I will argue that's a very, very fair point. He walked into that team with Sterling and Mahrez. I think we're already there. I think Aguero was up front. De Bruyne was already signed. Like, there was a nice core basis to go off. You signed Claudio Bravo, which wasn't your fella. You get it, you know what I mean? Like, that didn't work out, and then Ederson comes in, and here we are. So it is a fair point that this is his first big rebuild, and maybe that's the challenge for him now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is the challenge. Do you know what I mean? I would argue Klopp does do rebuilds, because Klopp's at 3 clubs for 7 years. You know, each time he's at 8 years at Liverpool, whatever it was. You know what I mean? So there's an argument there where he has done rebuilds before. You forget the Dortmund squad that he left with Aubameyang and stuff like that. I think Gundogan was there as well. It's a good team, that Dortmund squad that he left for Tuchel. And then, of course, he's left Arne Slot, a good team. There's an argument here, if he left in the summer, that the new manager walks in and Kyle Walker goes, I can't run anymore, and I wasn't very good defender anyway, and now I can't run. And then De Bruyne wants to go, I want to go to Saudi, and then before you know it, fella, and you go, fucking Erling Haaland looking at you going, I fancy a pay rise because I scored 45 more goals, which is, by the way, completely honest and fair of him to do. And there's that kind of point there, if you're the new manager, you're coming in, you go, fuck me, seven of these fucking want to go. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they want to go with that manager, and that is, you know what I mean? So there is that part as well, I think.
I mean, this is probably at least $100 to $200 million rebuild in the long term, possibly. Yeah. At least, I mean, just from what you're looking at. I mean, because you're going right for a midfielder right there of quality right there. It's going to be 50 mil right off the bat. I mean, that's even look at Zubimendi was going for 50 mil. So now you're talking about, if you're looking for attacking midfielder to replace De Bruyne. I mean, you're talking about a good 65, 70 mil right there for a player. I mean, so you're going to have to some way fund that moves right there. I mean, that's going to be the catch right there. What do you do? I mean, you could probably go sell Grealish for like 20 mil. I mean, maybe 30 mil at the moment. I mean, there's players bits and pieces you have to do, but again, it's just like you're still going to be short of your squad. So I mean, it's a gamble. I mean, with this, I mean. I wish him the worst bit of luck about this gamble. I mean, but I think if there's a manager, I think that could probably go there and make and get that kind of mesh together. It's Pep's ability to do it right there. I mean, I think he's world class. I mean, again, right there, this is going to take time, and I just don't know if 18 months is enough to get the squad back to that peak that it was of 2 seasons ago. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just don't see it happening because even last year, I think that when that squad was good, it wasn't his best squad. I mean, I think basically all the other teams just petered out. I mean, we did. I mean, Arsenal did.
I agree with you. I think he's bang lucky last year that Liverpool got all the injuries. I think he's bang lucky. Liverpool got 82 points with fucking absolute bums starting centre mid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Kids and some bums as well in there. And, you know, I do think he got bang lucky last year. I think he rested on his laurels last year, but I also thought he would have kept Alvarez. I just can't meet me. Like, you've took, when Haaland wasn't playing well last year, I think Alvarez got like 15 goals for him. And then they haven't got a winger who can get 10. That's fucking insane. That Manchester City haven't got a winger who can get 10 when they had Sterling and Mahrez. It's just like, my mind boggles there, gents. It really does. His way home here this season, by the way, his way home is just to get Phil Foden on the pitch as much as you can in number 10 and go, do me a favour, just get those wingers involved because they're so isolated. I'm a big Savinho fan. He's 20 years of age. I think he's going to be a top player. But fuck me, get them involved. When Oscar Bob comes back, get him involved. You have to be the catalyst to get us home here. And I actually think that they will still win. an FA Cup or a Champions League still.
Yeah, but that right there also, what kind of players Rodri come back as? I mean, that's
next year, isn't it? I know.
Yeah, next year, what does he come back as?
It's a great point, Brian, because if you're the new manager, you come in and Rodri goes, by the way, I've only just started running 2 weeks ago. And he's going to go, oh, so that's going to be fucking October, November. That which is definitely possible. And then, by the way, Rodri could get a setback in training, which happens from these long-term injuries, and he's out for 2 months again. I just think there's too many question marks. I think it's clever from Pep to get his 10 years. I think it's clever from the club. I actually think it's really smart. I also think he's been given guarantees in the summer about how much he can spend.
Yep.
I think there's no question marks over what's going to happen to Erling Haaland in the next few years. He's clearly going to be one of Hans Gruber's terrorists in the remake of Die Hard. Everybody knows that. Indeed. But talking about question marks, let's get to the fun stuff tonight. We got our quiz. Now, I'm not entirely sure how we do this because we don't have buzzers to press. So I'll just put the question.
Oh, how does this work? Is it me v. Brian? How does it work?
I'm gonna put the question up. And then you can both answer, and then we'll see who got the right answer. There was some that I actually didn't get when I went through the quiz, which is courtesy of Sparkle. Thank you very much, Sparkle. But it's all Liverpool based. No, that's not true. We'll find out. So, without further ado, here is the first question. It's a test of your knowledge of Liverpool Football Club. Are we ready? Fingers on buzzers, but don't let it be seen on camera. Who founded Liverpool in 1892?
Me. The answer, I believe, is John Holding.
It's John Holding.
John Holding, you say? It's John McKenna.
How do we are?
Aren't the Sparkle? That's what I said. John Holding as well.
Really?
Actually, and then it wasn't. So 0-0 there, lads.
Thank you.
Holding. Well, maybe I got to go have a discussion with Sparkle here. Which colours did the club originally play in?
Blue and white.
Blue and white.
Blue and white. It was.
It was. They should have.
You know what? I bet that Sparkle thing was thinking of the whole Everton thing and all that as well.
Yeah.
I gotta go look at that one. So that's 1-1. Which manager in the club's history has won the most trophies?
Me. Bob Paisley.
Bob Paisley.
I mean, he is just the best manager
20 trophies in 9
never
years.
been in the British game, as far as I think
it was 20, including the Charity Shields, in 9 years.
In 9 years. None of your.
And we rave about Alex Ferguson.
Mm.
None of your 35 years to collect all those trophies like Ferguson. He did it in a good time. 20 trophies, says Spencer Stewart. There you go, 20 trophies confirmed by a regular that we see every week. It's nice to see it again, Spencer. What flavour are thoughts?
Prawn cocktail.
Ooh.
Well, smoked meat.
Well, yeah, that's to be fair, Brian. Smoked meat is always the flavour of your thoughts. But I think prawn cocktail's a good answer because you have to be in the mood for it. You have to be in the mood for prawn cocktail. Who is the longest serving Liverpool player in history, the time between the first and last appearance?
Ian Callaghan.
Yeah,
20.
that's what I thought, but apparently it's Alicia Scott.
It is Elijah Scott. Wow.
Yeah, between the first and the last appearance. The funny thing is that everybody has the same haircut these days. All the guys do that Alicia Scott had in wherever Alicia Scott played again. Liverpool played in the first game broadcast on Match of the Day, but who did they face in 1964?
I must say Villa.
I will have a guess. Right, Arsenal.
What did you say, Cos?
Actually, 64. I don't think we've been promoted. So Leeds with Boss then, weren't they? So it's Villa or Forest, I think I'll have a guess. But
I would say Villa.
Yeah, I'll go Forest then.
Forest.
Yeah, Arsenal. I did say Arsenal first, but
it was Arsenal. I think I've heard it before. I can't remember. BBC Two, Cosy, sometime in like early 90s, showed that whole episode of Match of the Day as part of BBC's like thing that they used to do of like nostalgia. And I videotaped it and watched it until the videotape got caught in the video player. And then I cried. Who's the leading goal scorer for the club?
Go on, bro. You can have this.
Roger Hunt.
Ian Rush.
Ian Rush.
The man with the 10-foot neck.
Yeah,
and the porn star moustache. Spencer said Leeds for the other question, but it was Arsenal, and everybody think that the famous Klopp clip of the "She Loves You," yeah, came from that match of the day, but I don't think it did. I think that came from a special program.
Beatles weren't there then. 64? No, it's 70s. I think it was.
What was the 70s?
The famous clip. I think it's like 71. I think.
No, it's not. It's in the 60s. It's 63 because they're singing "She Loves You," yeah, in black and white. But it was a thing about Liverpool.
I remember, yeah.
You know, in the times in those days
stuff.
when BBC would deign to go north.
Yeah,
look at these northerners, all poor.
Yeah.
How many times did you turn your underpants inside out before you threw them in the wash? A big important question for us guys.
I mean, like this. I think there's more context to this. Where am I and what am I doing?
Just the normal everyday week.
Okay, so I'm not like on a run. Or...
You're not going out on the pool.
At least. How desperate am I? Twice.
Zero for Brian.
I mean, if you had to, that's the argument here, Brian. Yes, I wash my underwear. I didn't want to confirm.
I have a whole entire drawer, but probably worth about 2 weeks worth of underwear, so I'm good.
But what I'm saying is like if you were desperate though, Brian. Right, if you're desperate and you have no more underwear in the house.
See, I have like a bottom stash of like cotton ones with there, which I absolutely hate.
No, you have no underwear. There's a wall.
No underwear.
It'd have to be maybe once.
Okay. See,
the scientific answer is 4.
I would have to shower after every bathroom break.
The scientific answer is 4. You wear them normal, then you turn them inside out, then you flip them around, then you turn them inside out one more time.
Oh.
They quite stand on their own after that.
Peel them off you, chisel them off you.
Industrial strength jar of Swarfegan. What was the first title won by Liverpool?
The second division, I believe.
Second division.
Yes, it was. Well done. In which year was Bill Shankly appointed manager?
57, yeah.
Is it 59?
I think it's 57, but
57 says Cosby, 59 says Brian.
Wrong.
And
well done, Brian.
Spencer Stewart got it right as well. 1959. He does think, and he thinks correctly, Spencer. Well done.
Well done, fella.
I had that I'll give hail to Shanks in the back of my head, so I thought 59. Okay.
Liverpool were involved in a match-fixing scandal in 1915, along with which other club?
15.
I think it was United, actually. I actually think it was United. I think I've heard about this on a documentary. I think it was United.
What do you think, Brian?
I'm going to say Newcastle.
Oh, that's what I thought as well, because I know Newcastle were involved in something at one point.
Yeah.
Red Vision and Spencer Stewart and Cosy get it right. It was indeed Manchester United.
Yeah, it's weird.
Another bit of needle to add to that needle that we usually have. What was the score in the club's record top flight victory against Crystal Palace in 1989, which I had to wait for Sports Night to see back in the day? Was
it 10-1?
Shut up, lads. I'm doing the Sports Night theme.
It was 9-0.
9-0, you say?
And I think we had 9 different goal scorers.
9 different goal scorers, I believe. Yes, 9-0. I was like, what? And not even the best game we played in that period with that team. Nottingham Forest 5-0 was the one.
Yeah, the Tom Finney winner.
Tom Finney never saw a better exhibition of football in his life. And no higher praise could be had. Would you eat someone else's toenail clippings for a $20 bet?
I mean, everyone's got a price. I always think about these bets, right? But $20 is nowhere near enough.
I was in a Navy. I don't know what the fuck I ate right there on the ship. So I mean, I probably already did for free.
I think the question is here, guys, right? Is how much would it take? And is it 10 clippings? Or we
Let's tie it in. Let's tie it in. What if you needed money for a new set of underpants? $20 gets you a nice 5-pack in Walmart.
I'm just saying, like 20's not enough. I've got a price probably. It's got to be a few grand at least, Anna.
Hey, as I said right there, I was in the Navy. I ate probably worse. I mean, if you've ate Hayes Gray chicken and dumplings and picked the bones out, probably toenail clippings are right up the alley.
I'm a cheap date, so I'd even do it for 5. Who was the Reds' first £1 million player? I got this wrong when I did the quiz.
I think I know the answer. I think it's Dean Saunders.
It's Dean Saunders. That's what I was about to say.
1992, I think.
That's what I thought, but Sparkle says it was previously. I thought it was Dean Saunders too.
Maybe Saunders is our first multi-million-pound player.
I think he might have been the most expensive at the time.
It's like $3.5 million.
Yeah, something like that. The little Welsh ferret. Decent player, but way better for Villa than he was for us.
Yep.
We'll never forget that.
Another one you couldn't make it at a big club.
Yeah. The Spion Cup is synonymous with Liverpool. We all know that. But which year did the stand open?
1904.
Brian, what do you say?
1904.
1904. It was 2 years later, 1906. I thought that as well, but 1906 was the year. Will there ever be a boy born who can swim faster than a shark?
No.
Nah.
Because swimming is not natural.
That is true, to be fair.
I can't swim, by the way, so...
I float. I've got so much fat, I just float, so I'm good.
I believe that swimming is not natural. So, Team Shark all the way.
I think with genetic modification, we probably are closer than we ever thought we were. So that just makes... I think that might have been a draw between the two of you.
I'm going to tiebreaker.
That was the tiebreaker. I just forgot that it was the tiebreaker and didn't say it. No, here's the tiebreaker, and I think Cossey's going to win. Who's going to win the league this season?
The Reds.
The Reds, and if you're not on board that train, get the hell off it.
Exactly.
How that works.
Guess you need to save room for Timuchin right there, because he's been talking about you wanting the kid that you work on the same space in the seat and everything else.
There's no spaces for your thousands. I've got no spaces for you on this train. Like, open your shit house and back the boys, back your lads. Do you know what I'm saying? I have fucking idiots every year saying the Dolphins are going to win the fucking Super Bowl. Does it happen? Absolutely not. But you've got to believe in them. And I believe in these boys, and I believe in my manager. And I just think there's certain timings that are happening throughout the last 11 games, which is falling into Liverpool's hands. For example, City going to 4 aways back-to-back. Liverpool playing Southampton after an international break on a Sunday, when you could potentially have a chance to go 8 points clear at the top of the league. You know, I just feel like there's certain moments in time when Rodri gets injured, for example, really helps. You know what I mean? And Arsenal's head falling off, which is natural to happen when you come against the City side. I just think Liverpool...
And when your manager is made of Lego, because those Lego heads always fall off really easy.
That's the thing. And you've also got a beautiful little bold Dutchman, who I still call a little bold Dutch fraud sometimes because he kills me with the substitutions, but we'll get there. I do think Liverpool will have to win the league. I do think we might need to sign still someone in January.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hate him, but you'll love him.
Mm.
Stuart says, Spencer Stuart says, they haven't won since 1973.
Exactly. But the fans still go every year and go, well, maybe. There's still those lads. Maybe this is our time. It never is. They need
to take a leaf out of everyone's book and just go never.
I'm a Sacramento Kings fan. Don't worry about it. Like I know they're not winning the big one anytime soon. But I still love the lads. And when they got to the playoffs a couple of years ago and they played the Golden State, I was like, maybe we can beat them. I was talking about Golden State and the fucking playoffs, gents. Why am I even thinking that? You know what I mean? So this is what it is, you know. But I do believe that the Reds will win the league. Yes, I
think if that happens, we're all winners on that very, very weird quiz. But let's talk about this winningness. Southampton against Liverpool on Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Who cares what time it is everywhere else in the country, because those time zones don't exist. Brian, What do you think to this? I talked with the EPL panel show guys on Tuesday, and they didn't even have Southampton as one of the Tonali picks. They basically were all looking at Liverpool as a machine now at this point, and Southampton would be pulling off one of the shocks of the season to get anything out of the game. But is it that easy, or are we still waiting on that banana skin?
I mean, we said the same thing about Forrest when he came back off the international break too, right there. But I mean, of course, it's a little bit different right there to have that extra day. I mean, for the squad right there to actually work through sets and reps and all that, and see what exactly what you want to line up with. Going Sundays actually has an advantage right there because you have some of the South American players that are coming back right there. It gives them an extra day right there to rest to get their legs back to them. I don't see this as a banana skin. I don't see them being at Southampton at this point. I mean, they won. I believe they won last week right there, which got them out of the So which brought them up and still in the bottom three, but with at least a little bit of a gap right there from Wolves. So I mean, that was a good 3 points for them. But this is even an expected game for Southampton to even win. I mean, they're not looking to win these type. If they go, they're going to try to play for a point because a point to them is 3 points right there in that bottom group. So I think that this is probably a bridge too far for a Southampton squad to go into. I think that they focus on all those around them to get them into those points. But I mean, I don't think this is a banana skin. I think we're okay.
By the way, they lost the Wolves last week 2-0. The week before, they beat Everton.
The week before, okay.
They lost the Wolves last week, and Wolves went above them with that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a part of this, gents. I think I would be scared playing anyone away from home after the international break, apart from the Southampton side. They only know one way of playing. The manager's very adamant that they're just going to get hold of the ball and pass and move and play their nice, tardy stuff. You can't do that against Liverpool. We'll just swarm you. For example, if you said we were going to Ipswich, I'd be a bit more, Liam Delap could have nightmares here. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd feel, even though we went to Ipswich and we played okay, you know what I mean, but beat them in that. But I'm saying, like, for example, Wolves away, would you fancy that right now? Like a wave after an international break, I just feel that's a tough one. I just think this Southampton side's poised, man. It really is poised of like, it's not that they're not that good as such because they're okay. It's more the way they play. They don't change, Mac. They just stay where they are, you know what I mean? It's so, I don't know. I just think it's perfect for Liverpool. And I also think as well as an argument if you're Southampton where if you concede one in the first 10, you could really do with getting beat 1-0. Like, you could really do just losing 1-0. But like they did with City. City scored in the first couple of minutes and then just beat them 1-0. They'll take that right now, I think, if you offered them that. Like, just don't hammer us at home. Let's get it right. It could cost the manager his job if you get beat heavily against Liverpool. It could cost you the job. So I just think it's ready and primed. I think it's probably the one team out of the 19 after an international break I'd want to play away from home.
Brian, for Southampton, they're in desperate dire straits again, as always. But is it the case? Do you think now that we've seen Forest and they're doing really well? We thought that was the banana skin, so to speak, at the start of the season. But they're doing really well. They're a capable team. Nuno has them playing really well, but Southampton just can't, for love nor money, get any sort of string of performances together. We are looking more machine-like than we ever did since probably the middle part of Rafa Benitez's reign, when everybody started to know what their jobs were, and Gerrard was getting moved into
1920, 1920.
1920.
1920 is the last time I would say we looked like a machine. You know what I mean? Even 2021, 22, when we nearly won all four, we were getting over the line a little bit. There was a few little sticky points, but
that's a fair point. Yeah,
1920 when you win 26 of the first 27, and I don't think we beat the team by more than 3 goals.
We
are professional, and we're good. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. Rafa Benitez is a really good point. I mean that like when you play middle block, Rafa Benitez is really good for Arne Slot kind of thing in terms of when you go 2-0 up, you feel, yeah, we're sound here. It's done. Like when there's always that famous saying in football, gents, when 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline. Not when Rafa or fucking Al slot your manager, mate. You know what I mean? It's not dangerous at all. So I do agree with that a little bit about the Rafa thing of like being a machine a little bit, yeah.
Brian, do you think that's sending ripples throughout the league like that this isn't the Liverpool of Klopp? There are a decreasing amount of games where you could get away with conceding the first goal, but just keep at it because the Liverpool are going to leave some space. But this team doesn't do that. This team gets almost all 11 players behind the ball when needed to defend, and will happily sit there doing that for 20 minutes of a game in order to reset control. And teams are starting to go, crap. As Cosy says, let's just get beat 1-0 here today if it happens that early. Do you think that reputation is now rippling through the league, and teams like Southampton will allow us to play our game because they're looking for damage limitation rather than a shock result?
I mean, with Southampton, I think Southampton is just another case of a team that's getting promoted from the championship, playing like they're still in the championship in a lot of ways. I mean, they still have the same type of flair that they played in when they were in the championship. So, but I think there's a ripple effect. I'd rather us be anonymous. I'd rather us not be noticed. I wanted to go into this season right there with the whole thing where Arsenal was favored, our City were favored, and we were always put back to be fourth or fifth or something like that. I like the level of disrespect right there that some squads give us, because you know what it tells you. You know what, it's a big middle finger. It's to everybody else. Let's just go play our game. But yeah, I mean, I do think that now that I think that squads are seeing as, okay, I can score on them, but they're just going to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going and swarming us. It was almost like we needed that one like little tweak of a formation, or a tweak of how we play, and say, hey, maybe you just do this one step. It's kind of like this, like we talked about before, about when Slot went with Trent, came there and said, hey, you go over like 4 feet right there, you're fine. I mean, just those, like, having a different eyes on a squad right there, and teaching them something, a different method of doing. Sometimes it's a refreshing moment. And I think the squads right there is having a refresh, basically a refresh. You're seeing players who are changing the way they play. I mean, look at Ryan Gravenberch. I mean, prime example right there. I mean, he couldn't get a match in last season. I mean, now everybody is raving him. Some more so like John, but it's a different type of team, and if you really look at it, it's just small tweaks that we've made with the squad. I mean, with it. I mean, namely right there, we're not going from the side, playing off the sides as much. I mean, but in the same essence, we're still doing these forward presses in the first and like the upper third of the pitch. We're still doing a lot of the same things we did in our Klopp. Just it seems like it's a more refreshed look right there. I mean, with it, a little bit more ball possession, but other than that right there, it's a lot of Klopp type of football. I mean, I think that Slot came into this thing right there. He knew what he had. He knew how these players were used to playing. And he just go there, use that right there, use those tools right there, and say, I can go there and go with the same blueprint. Put my thumb on this. Say, hey, guess what? You just do this one little thing a little bit better on my ways, and other than that, play the same way you've been playing. And I think that's what these guys are doing.
I think there's a part of that as well where they're really good at managing themselves in game. Our players. I think they really know it's going to be a slog of a season. And I think they're really good at taking a little bit of time out and killing games, or giving possession away, but staying in the shape a little bit. I feel like we did that against Villa a little bit, where in the second half, I don't think we were massively under pressure. It might have felt like that it was only 1-0, but I don't think we were. I don't remember Kelleher making unbelievable saves, save after save, when Villa had the ball. Absolutely not. I think we're really good at managing ourselves. And I think this just goes back to the point of when I'm talking about Liverpool, we're in the league, we've got to sign someone. The Gravenberch one worries me massively. This is the most football he's played in like 2-3 years. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know where he gets a rest in. That's the other part of this. He cannot rest. Like, he has to play every single football match. And I just think eventually that could, become a toll on the kid. By the way, which would not be his fault, because he has not kicked the ball in anger for Liverpool for the year, basically. And then he went to Bayern Munich and didn't kick a ball in anger for the year. So I just think The squad is poised right now, but I do think we are one, maybe definitely one and short. We're going back to the part where Bryce said that we're improving players. Look what he's done to Costas, mate. He's made Costas look like a competent left back, which I thought was impossible. Like, I really did. You know what I mean? And he's made them look like an half decent left back. There's actually a conversation between fans that should Costas be our starting left back. Imagine saying that 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And I know Andy's not at the level he should be, and that's fine. But that's full credit to Costas, by the way. He played well last year when he came in, unfortunate injury. But he played really well for Klopp last year. And he's coming in again, and he looks really, really good. So, and that's full credit to the manager again.
Let me ask you this, Cozy, and then I'll get Brian's thoughts on it. And just in a sliding doors kind of alternate universe situation, do you think the difference here is that if we put Brendan Rodgers in the same position, top of the Champions League and top of the Premier League, taking over from Klopp, and I'm talking about Brendan Rodgers from Swansea, not Brendan Rodgers as he is now, the lack of experience would make you worry that something's going to fall off at some point. But Slot just has this confidence that, you know, I've done this. I've won a league. Yeah. I know how to do this. So just trust me, and we're not going to run ourselves into the ground by January and then hope injuries don't kill our league attempt. We're just going to take the ball and we're going to play with it around for a bit so you can get a bit of a rest. And if we don't have an awful lot of the ball, we're going to sit back in a shape and not let the other team play the way they want to play. And we're okay with that. And instead of having to impress all the time and, like, you know, get that high octane soccer that we're used to for the past 9 years, Slot's actually quite confident in saying, no, we're going to do it this way. And then when we win the league, which we will, you'll all understand what I'm trying to do.
I think he's very good at picking moments. Our players, I think again, comes back to managing themselves in terms of in-game. I think they know when they can give up possession. I always remember thinking something that really stuck with me. And I don't know if you probably watched it, and it's probably a comment that really went under the radar. So after Liverpool won the Champions League in 2019, Klopp and Pep Linders sat down and was watching videos before the game, and they were commenting on them. Of, like, you know, it was in the summer after we won the Champions League. And Klopp said, I walked into the dressing room at half time against Spurs because I wanted to change them. We scored in the first minute. We didn't really attack. We were just comfortable in the game. A bit like the performances you're seeing now. And he said, I looked at Virgil and Joel and we're sound. They're offering nothing. Don't worry. And he's like, because he's like, Klopp went, I don't want you to go long. And you're like, no, we'll just go long. It's fine. They're offering nothing. And are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And he trusted the players. And the reason why I brought that up is that Klopp went to the players and went, what's your fancy here, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's your, in a Champions League fan, by the way, like, how are you feeling about this? Going back to the point here, what I'm saying now is that all these players are really experienced players. Like, they've done it. They understand what it takes. They understand how close they were last year. I keep saying that, apart from the injuries, I think we won it last year. Or Luis Diaz's dad not getting kidnapped. Like, I think we might win it, last year. So there is that as well. But the experience factor, I think, is massive. I think it is. I think, going back to your analogy of Brendan Rodgers did panic. He panicked in the Chelsea game. Liverpool could draw that game. Liverpool, all they had to do was draw. And then he beat Palace, and that was it. It was over. He still win the league. He panicked. And I let the occasion get to him, and he let Mourinho get in his head. And I think, but I will, it's always a conversation I'd love to, do you have one of those things with, like, managers, I'd love to ask you a question. And it's not about, it's something so random and weird that they've done. And, like, so for example, if I sit down with Jurgen Klopp, and they go, like, what would you, one question, I go, you went to Brighton once, you beat them 5-1, and you played 3-5-2 with Emre Can and Gini Wijnaldum centre half, and I want to know what you were fucking thinking that day. Because you know what I mean? I always remember the certain moments in games, I always remember. And you're like, he did that once. You know, I think we were in the Toxic Orange kid. And I'd always go to the Brodge. I always go on the Brodge. I'd always go to the Brodge and go, if Gerrard doesn't slip on the 44th minute, do you take 0-0? Like, would you have swallowed it and went, they won't want to win this game. We don't have to win this game. We'll just take 0-0 then, and we'll move. I'd love to know if he'd say yes now, wouldn't he? But at the time, would he? Because I think he did panic in that game, but I don't think our manager panics. I think he trusts his players. I think he trusts his bench. And I actually think so there is a part that it is a thing, mate. And again, if you're sitting at the top of the league and you go, fucking hell, Pep Guardiola's on my heels here. Do you know what I mean? And they're a team who can win 20 fucking games after Christmas. I think there is that, because Pep Guardiola, by the way, has done that consistently throughout his Premier League career. I do think there is that. But going back to your main point, I do think that experience of winning the league before in a different league, albeit not with the same pressure, it's like, well, I've done this before. I have won league titles and I have been here, and there's that confidence and arrogance. And that's what sometimes, that's why I think about going back a little bit with United, that this Amarim looks like the real deal. It looks like they might actually get them back on board. Like, he's won league titles before. Do you know what I mean? He's like, fucking hell, I'm at United. I was at the biggest club in Portugal, mate.
But so did Mourinho. You know what I mean?
But you'd argue that the Mourinho style of football was never going to work anyway.
It wasn't, but yeah. I think you're right. He's probably the more of the real deal.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I just think he looks like he's on the way up when Mourinho looks like he's on the way down. Do you know what I mean? And he looks like he's coming that way. I actually think in 2-3 years he'll get them really back. By the way, he will get them back because they're a really big football club, and it's not really difficult to get them back because you can waste hundreds of millions on a player like Anthony and then all go from there when it doesn't work out, where we can't do that. So there is a thing about getting managers, I think, when they're on the way up a little bit, when you can see one cooking a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone right now around the league's looking at that Brighton manager, aren't they? Everyone's looking at that Brighton manager going, you're gonna qualify for Europe? Okay, yeah, we'll write that down. You know what I mean? 31 years of age, we'll write that down. You know what I mean? I think he is that kind of thing, and I think with Slot, he is like that on his trajectory of his career.
Brian, do you think, I mean, because he makes the point that, maybe there's not as much pressure in the Dutch league, but I would contend that it's relative, that the pressure, the quality of the soccer is probably not as good, but it's relative. Graham Souness made a stupid point on TalkSport or something like that during the week that I think it was last week, that Arsene Wenger wasn't a real football man because he came from the Goya Grand Passat and he got lucky with the Arsenal team that he got with the French players. But my contention is that it's all relative. Just like in that Friends episode, it's all relative. You feel the pressure that you feel in the circumstances you're in, whether you're in the Premier League or La Liga, or whether you're in the Swiss First Division. Your team strength is relative to the teams around you and the richness of that league. So, you may not be playing Barcelona and Real Madrid every week, or Bayern Munich and Dortmund, but you're playing the equivalents of those teams in that league. So do you think in that sense, Slot having that experience, but also being Dutch and being incredibly arrogant, is looking at the whole thing and we're expecting him to panic a little bit or be concerned, but he's probably gone, Pep's 7 points behind. We can make him 10 points behind soon. That's exactly how things should be.
Well, I had a conversation with one of my coworkers today, like yesterday, about Slot. The thing about Slot right there is his ability to adapt, and I've noticed that right there, that he has the ability to change just little tiny things right there on the pitch right there to change matches. I mean, you can see right there when we faltered in the first half right there, where you're like, oh my God, this is the worst first half, and then come back in the second half, and just like one single tweak, same things is right there, going and pulling out, and the sub he made right at the big gig out of the get-go in the Ipswich match right there. A lot of people right there felt it was raw right there, but would we go there have Kanate in the form that he is right there now if we wouldn't have came there and made that pull, Kwanzaa pull? I mean, so these little things right there, being brave and making these things. I know Kazi said right there, hey, you were brave enough to come there and pull Kwanzaa when he's having a bad match. Are you brave enough to go and pull Slavosly or somebody like that when they're having a bad match and go there and put somebody else different in? And, I think that Slot's that type of manager right there to say, hey, you know what? This isn't working. I'm sorry. This is it's more of us getting the result, and you're a player right there. You'll get your time again sometime. But right now, it's about winning matches. And I think that I have to give FSG a lot of credit right there with that, for actually going through and researching and pulling him up. I mean, because I don't think that Xabi Alonso was the first choice. I don't, and I think that Amaran right there was not going to fit our system right there for what the players we had, because he plays with a back three, and don't think that was going to work with our squad. Xabi Alonso right there, maybe at the point right there, probably should have said, hey, I'll take this job if you offer it to me, and say he turned it down. But I don't think Xabi Alonso was ready for it. And if Xabi Alonso did go here, we were going to be a stopgap for him to go to Real Madrid. So I think Yeah. I mean, but I think the slot right there, basically right there, checks a lot of boxes. I mean, he's a young manager. He's like you said right there. He's got the experience of winning the league, and he's got and he is not going to massively change to what the squad was. And I think that's what FSG was looking for. And so I think that's why Slot has that little bit. Of course, Dutch managers are arrogant anyway. I mean, Advocate right there is like one of those arrogant guys. Coleman is even more arrogant than he is.
Louis Van Gaal.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think that's what. And sometimes that's what you need. You need to have a manager be a manager. I mean, and it's like with Klopp right there. Klopp was a manager, but Pep Winders ran the squad. And I think that that now you have this Slot knowing what his position is as being head coach. He's the head coach, not the manager. And it's actually a little bit better. Like you're able to actually put the player to be with the players.
Can we talk about our two biggest rivals this weekend? Because I don't think this is all sunshine and rainbows going into Sunday. I actually think they're in big trouble, both of them.
Oh yeah,
I think Forest and Liverpool are the only two undefeated away teams this year, away from home. Forest are going to Arsenal, and everyone's just going, "Oh, they got Odegaard back now, like it's all going to be fine." And then Chris Wood's going to show up, and Chris Wood's going to do a Chris Wood on you, because that's what Chris Wood does. And
I'd be scared of. I was City. I'd be scared of Spurs. I mean, I would be frightened of Spurs.
They're such a weird team, aren't they, fella? You can win 3 on the bounce, and then you lose to Ipswich at home. But I also think sometimes when you have an inconsistent side like that they just come to you sometimes and beat you 2-3-0, and you can just.
I think Spurs have the. I think Spurs easily had a chance of putting 4 past City. I think they could put 4 past City.
I just think City will win the game, but I just don't think it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows. I just think it's going to be really, really tough games for them. And I also think as well, again, this bit the benefit of course playing on the Sunday is, imagine going down to Southampton, fella, finding out that fucking Arsenal drop points again, or City have dropped points again. It's just another
big up.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like, all right, we're going to run all over these. I just think, I think this could be a pivotal weekend as much as next weekend. I really do. I know we got Newcastle, Newcastle and stuff like that, but I just think that this weekend feels. I always said the next 2 games just feel massive. The Real Madrid game's nothing to me. I would start making. I don't care. So I genuinely don't care if they come in and beat us. But
what's like I said. Go ahead. Sorry. It's like I came through and said right there on Monday's podcast right there too. I think that even Gally came through and said the same thing. I think that we can afford to lose or draw against Real Madrid. I mean, if there was a match I would rotate on, it'd probably be that match right there. I mean, to a degree, because I think that's more important for us to go there and have a showing against City the following weekend.
Here's a part of it as well you got where if you're Liverpool and Madrid, if you just get out of the next couple of league games, I think after Everton away we have Girona, and then you can just take over the kids for Girona. Like, if you beat Madrid, it's over. 15 points will be enough. 15 points is enough for top 8. Like, you'd all go back into a draw anyway. Finishing first or 8th doesn't benefit you in any way because you go back into a draw. It's not like you get seeded and you play the team, you know what I mean? It's nothing like that. So finishing first or 8th means nothing. It affords you to go to Girona with kids. But going back to this weekend, fella, I just feel like it really could be pivotal.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, before we start wrapping things up, go with a score prediction and standout player. We'll go with Brian first.
I'm gonna go 3-0, and I think Gakpo. I think that he's gonna have a pretty standout match.
Cozzy.
2-0, and I think it's going to be more where Southampton shake hands on 2-0, not Liverpool. I think they'll shake hands and go just beat us 2-0 and please leave us alone. And standout player, I think he might do Curtis Jones. I think this is McAllister's rest. I think this is his rest to say, but you're doing, of course, the next 4. I just don't think I keep trying to think about this. I think Jones had his best game against Chelsea in that deeper lying role. And I just think if you go for McAllister now, you don't worry about the Argentina travelling and all that. You're out. Let's get it right. I think McAllister's basically played every game of footy because he played into the World Cup final in the last 3 years and just has had the legs ran off him. And I just think sometimes if you can squeeze rests into players, it's really clever and smart. And I wouldn't be surprised if he rests Robertson as well and does cost that.
I'm also going to go with a slot special 2-0. I think Curtis Jones will be the standout player because he's on a high after his adventures in England, and I'm also going to call a Darwin Núñez hat trick just for it's
Yeah, and a 2-0 win for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Darwin gets a hat trick.
He's that kind of special.
A natural hat trick.
Special player.
Oh, wow. I don't want to see Darwin Núñez this weekend, you know. Actually, to be fair, he's been all right. He's been all right the last couple of weeks. But,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, he has.
He's actually looked like a competent football player, which I didn't think he could ever look like. Who would have thought it? That's how, Alan Slot, he's a miracle worker. How can you make Darwin Núñez look like a competent football player? You know what I mean?
Well, it made Simicast look like a competent left back. I mean, so.
What can this fella can't do? I can't wait to see a midfield three of us three against Real Madrid and watch us play the prime fucking Zidane and Kaka. Can't wait. Yeah.
Well, they won't be getting past me. I'll tell you that much. I'll be a 2-man pivot all by myself.
Yeah, you're like Jan Moby, number 6.
Yeah.
Up there.
Big fat ass knocking everybody off the ball.
Yeah, we're just nipping it all together. Just go Ramini and Camavinga can't even touch the ball. Come
on. So with that said, we will have our morning coffee tomorrow morning, I believe, and then we will also have a pre and post match on Sunday and a possible watch along for Saturday. So keep an eye out for announcements for that. But if you want to know where the announcements are, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook and on Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter. And then join the Patreon, where one day myself, Kazi, and Timuchin will get our act together and put more shows on. One day. When we've changed our underpants.
Yeah, when we change our underpants, yeah.
But just make sure you're following us on the Discord as well, and so you get all the good stuff. But it just remains to say thank you, Brian, and thank you, Kazi. It was a pleasure. As always, not in the underpants stakes. Now let's not go that far. But we will see everybody else next week. No, we will not, maybe, actually, because it's Thanksgiving Thursday next week, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's Thanksgiving Thursday. So keep an eye out for us not being here, because I will be full of potato. Literally. I just ask for as many baked potatoes as they can give me at the in-laws, and they oblige, and I will never complain about that. We didn't have enough in 1847. I'm making up for it in 2024.
Is at least a good jacket potato?
Oh yeah, I don't care whether it's got its jacket on or it's jacket off, or whether it's changed its underpants 4 times in a row. It's a potato. I'm getting salted and buttered, and it's going in my belly.
Those English bastards again.
Well, for everybody else, have a good weekend, and we will see you soon, one way or the other. Peace out, people. Here is the funky new music.